Hey there, everybody. Matt Carter here.
I'm Jessica Carter from CARTERMATT.com.
This video is our further discussion on NCIS Season 17, Episode 13. It's coming up on CBS in just a couple of days now. This seems to be the Jimmy Palmer spectacular that everyone, most notably Jessica, has been waiting for.
I sure have been. I love Jimmy. I make no apologies. I think he's such a great character. He's so fun, and even though he looks like he's going to be a little stressed out in this episode, it's going to be great to have a spotlight on him.
Can we send Jimmy on vacation? Not where we don't see him on the show, but like in between episodes. Can he just like go and get like some R&R somewhere?
He needs a little R&R after he maybe hires some help.
He needs like a cake. A cake, everybody loves cake. You bring him a cake, he'll probably fall asleep in the cake, but he'll wake up and be a lot happier.
At least maybe if he has some cake, he can get some energy, since it seems to be that he's running on like 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about what we saw in the sneak peeks and how it could apply to the episode. But before we do, if you like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other updates. We will be back on Tuesday with all sorts of good stuff about this episode.
To talk all about Jimmy.
Alright, so let's start with where we find Jimmy in these sneak peeks. I mean, he talks with McGee, Bishop, and Torrez.
Yeah, where they're actually having a moment, sitting around, enjoying their coffee. The phone's not ringing. Nobody's saying, grab your gear. Nothing is happening, which is a very rare moment on this show.
This is probably one of the greatest days of Nick Torres' life so far, where he doesn't have to run around, he doesn't have to take any orders, he can just kind of just sit there and hang out.
Sit around in his shirt that's too small for him and have some coffee.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, I mean, that's not every man's dream, because I like my shirts to fit, but the coffee part of it, sure, I'm all with that.
But that is Nick's dream.
That might be Nick's dream. And here is Jimmy Palmer coming in like the frazzled individual he is.
Yeah, that hair, man. Somebody give him a comb.
That Jimmy Palmer's hair, back when I had hair, it was like, I had the same sort of problem where anytime I would do anything, like all of it all around you would just like poof out to the sides and I would look like a crazy mad scientist.
Yes, I was supposed to say you always would call yourself the mad scientist when it was time to get a haircut.
Jimmy, we can relate. Not anymore, but I used to be able to relate to you. And as it turns out, I think Palmer said he'd gotten 14 minutes of sleep or some random number like that.
Yeah, he's having a real little bit of sleep. And we did see in the other sneak peek as well, sort of this more of that same sort of thing where he's out in the field, he's kind of dozing off, Gibbs has to repeat himself. Jimmy is there, but he's just not. He's kind of like asleep. He's sleepwalking. He's going through the crime scene.
Yeah, it's not going well for him. And what we learn is that ever since Ducky moved over to his new position, and this is understandable, Jimmy has been basically doing the work of both a medical examiner and also an assistant. So he's working 2 jobs and probably only getting paid at the moment for one of them.
Yes. Absolutely. It's not a good situation for him, and this is where we're going to be looking at the possibility of someone else coming into this world.
Yeah, so the question then becomes, as Coco enters the frame, who becomes the new Jimmy Palmer assistant? Which, by the way, I mean, the one question I have about this is, shouldn't someone at NCIS been aware of this before now?
Oh, I agree. I'm kind of surprised this is only coming up now because Ducky did an awful lot of work. He had a lot of balls in the air at one time. Jimmy also, I mean, you've got 2 people that are doing an awful amount of work. Now Ducky is doing something else. Jimmy's been doing this on his own for a little while now. I'm kind of surprised nobody has stepped up to be like, hire somebody. And then we saw Jimmy sitting at the desk saying that he's got a pile of resumes and they all are kind of looking the same at this point. It is very hard for someone like Jimmy.
Yeah.
Who was working with someone like Ducky, who knows everything, to then be that person who's now going to bring in somebody. How do you know you're going to get the right person? So on top of him having all this work,
Yeah.
no sleep,
Yeah.
he's not thinking right. Just looking at a sheet of paper with, "Hi, my name is Joe," is not going to be enough for him to figure it out. He's really got to start interviewing people.
Someone needs to stage an intervention or something for Palmer where it's like, we know you're good, Jimmy. You don't have to prove anything to us anymore. Just go home, take a nap. Here, have some fruit or eat something.
You really want Jimmy to eat something.
Well, he's working all the time. I don't know.
Are you hungry?
I'm always hungry, but that's beside the point. I think he just needs somebody to help him out here, and that's why this is where I'm hoping this storyline goes. I mean, I know there's a case. We saw another sneak peek that there is a case that's coming up. I still want there to be room in Torrez and Bishop and McGee's schedule that they start conducting job interviews on Palmer's behalf, because Nick Torrez examining someone's ability to be a medical examiner, give me all of that.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. I actually want to see a tired, frazzled Jimmy go through these different candidates and see the different types of candidates that would come in for a job like this, and then finally have him have that aha moment where he makes a connection with somebody, and maybe they do actually bring in somebody. This is something that we don't know for sure yet. Are they really bringing in a new character that's going to be maybe not around all the time, but maybe around enough of the time? That's a thing that hasn't exactly been brought out yet. I don't think that Jimmy can continue on like this, balancing all these plates at once. It's clearly things are crashing around him. So I'm excited to see the process and see what happens with Jimmy, see who he picks. And I love the idea of somebody coming into this show when we're not losing somebody, because it always seems to be like a 1-for-1, that Abby's gone, now we have Casey sort of thing. And then it sucks for someone like Casey, because then there's all these comparisons when there shouldn't be any comparisons. It's about the job, it's not about the person. So I like that we're having a situation here where Jimmy was that person. So Jimmy's still on the show. We're not having somebody come in and replace Jimmy. We're having somebody just come in.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are fun to unpack there. I mean, I think first of all, let's combine the idea of Torrez and Jimmy in the interview at the same time.
Hill, man.
See, I want a reprisal of the Torrez and Palmer art school fight scene that we saw. That was tremendous entertainment. Second, I do agree with the notion of, all right, let's bring in somebody new and sort of see how they fit in with everybody else on the team. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't have to be someone we see every episode. And I think we talked about this in the other preview. It could be someone who shows up maybe, 6 or 7 times over the course of a season and just be a foil for him, so that it doesn't always have to be, oh, here's Jimmy talking to a dead body.
But don't take that away, please, because I really like that aspect of the show and of him. We can have a little bit of it here or there, but it's okay to give him a friend, too, and a colleague. Yeah, especially since we did have in the sneak peek him saying that he fell asleep on one of the morgue tables, and then him being asked if there was anybody on it with him, and him having this kind of shifty eyes, like, maybe even like I don't know, I just fell asleep.
By the way, that is incredibly dark for NCIS to have a I may have fallen asleep on a dead body moment in a sneak preview. But this is where we are with Jimmy. I mean, I understand that there could have been a more serious storyline that this character could have gotten. We've had this before, but we've also just come out of a pretty heavy arc for Ziva, and it was really emotional, and there was a lot of stuff that was going on there. I kind of do appreciate the fact that we're just getting... It is important, like it does matter to NCIS, but there's also just so much silliness that the potential is high for within this storyline. I want there to be like a montage of just like terrible candidates before we meet the right one.
Yeah, sort of almost like what happened with The Office when Steve Carell left, and we had all these sort of people come in like Robert California, who did end up sticking around for a little while, but man, he was a really kind of weird boss.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on with that, and I'm actually also just I enjoyed having Ziva on the show. Everybody knows that, and that was a really fun arc. But now I am really looking forward to seeing more arcs like this.
Yeah.
Last week we had kind of this more case of the week. We had a little story about
McGee
and the snip and all that, and all the men in the office. But that wasn't really like a spotlight on Tim or anything like that. This one is starting to kind of feel like it might be a little more of a wider lens on what's going on with Jimmy, because both of these sneak peeks that came out, we've got him in the office and we've got him in the field, and it's about the same thing that's happening to him. He is overworked. He's unable to keep his eyes open. He can't keep his focus together, and he needs to get some help. So while there's going to be a case of the week, it kind of feels like this is all going to be a bit of a bigger story. Hopefully big enough that we're gonna have somebody new.
Fingers crossed with that. I think it's also gonna set up some others. Well, we're gonna get some other personal stuff down the road. We'll talk about this a lot on Tuesday, I figure. But the episode after this, it's gonna be a big Torrez episode. Buckle your seatbelts. That's all I can say about it right now. But this one, I think, is gonna be fun. So let's get your predictions. Do you think we will have a new member of the NCIS team in some way on Tuesday?
And do you want anybody new coming in? There has been a lot of changes to the cast over the past few years. Are you ready to see somebody new come in?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. And if you did like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us more by check that link in the description to the CARTERMATT store. And we'll see you here next time.